YouTube too. Perfect. Yo, come on, come on. Nothing but love, nothing but respect. You know what we do, what we don't, what we is, what we isn't, and what we is here today, bringing you guys and girls the One Piece chapter 1087 live reaction. For those of you watching on YouTube, hello. For those of you watching on TikTok, also hello. I'm setting up a multi-stream today using two different devices. So this is the first for this sort of setup. For those of you that are watching this on YouTube and feel like migrating over to TikTok, or for those of you watching on TikTok and feel like migrating over to YouTube, my link tree in the description or in my bio can, you know, help you jump between to either. So be sure to check that shit out. It does help, and it actually has a different format. Currently, at the moment, my TikTok setup is I'm actually currently under 1,000 followers on TikTok. So if you're following or watching this on TikTok, give us a like, drop a follow, share that love. We're trying to get up to 1,000. So for those of you that are watching on YouTube, we can transfer this setup over to the TikTok so you guys can enjoy some better quality stream, including actually being able to see the chapter. And more so, those of you on TikTok, you won't be able to. So once you finish the live reaction, we will probably be starting the live discussion for this chapter, which I'll probably have to stop on TikTok, or maybe I'll keep it up so you guys can ask questions. But essentially, the way my stream's set up to work is we stream through Discord. So anyone that joins my Discord is able to hop in and talk some shit about One Piece, share that love and all that good stuff. But you can't hear it because I'm having to stream off a separate device for the TikTok. That being said, those of you watching on YouTube, yo, Young Two Face, good to see you in the chat, my dude. For those of you watching on YouTube, hello. You can see the chapter. I hope you can hear me. Hope everything's fine. Everything looks green and healthy on my end. So I'm going to get straight into the goodness. Thankfully, I've avoided all spoilers for this chapter so far. It's been absolutely killing me since One Piece Scans, or OP Scans, has been dropping the trailers sort of like Wednesday, Thursday. And I've like scheduled my whole life around, like, years and years ago, One Piece used to drop early on a Friday, late on the weekends, and then it like shifted back and forth and back and forth. So the consistent release ended up being like typically Friday, and like if it came a little bit early, you might get it like late Thursday sort of thing. So yeah, but at the moment, the way it is now, unfortunately, it's dropping so much more earlier. I've seen it almost drop sometimes on Wednesdays, which is wild to me. But I'm sticking to my schedule of Friday, splitting the difference between them. I personally like TCB scans as well, just because I find OP scans a little rougher around the edges for their scans, and TCB has been fairly consistent with having a pretty high quality translation as well, which is where we're reading it from today. If you haven't read the chapter as well and you want to read the chapter, again, the link to my Discord is in the bio or link tree. Join the Discord. There's a little subsection called chapter links. You can go over there. Any chapter I review for any series automatically gets pushed straight there. So go for it. Yo, this is spoiler free, bro. This is gonna be hot. Yeah, dude, I haven't been spoiled yet. When it hits Wednesday, Thursday, I dive off social media. I still upload, but I personally dive off social media for the most part because I have to enjoy this. I've been, like, One Piece is such a big part of my life, man. I've loved it for so long, for so many years. I love my week isn't really complete until I get to sit down and have 20 pages of just awesomeness, and it's always so consistent, so I always do a damn solid effort to try and avoid spoilers. As soon as I start seeing the blurbs, right? As soon as I start seeing the blurbs for, like, the editor comments for the week of the chapter, I just go, ooh, okay, shit's gonna be hyped, time to dive off. The earlier in the week you see people talking about the chapter, the more you know the chapter's gonna be hype. That being said, I've talked enough. Let's get into the greatness. All right. Chapter 1087, Battleship Bags. Battleship Bags. Right, that is an odd name for a chapter, I'm not going to lie. We have Ace on the cover. We have cover request by Nishia Tomakia Taku. Ace heating up a bath for some capybaras. I feel like this cover page alone indirectly is somehow influenced by Tekking 101 and his capybara facts. I don't know why, but I just feel out in the ether somewhere, the only reason we're getting a capybara on a cover page here is solely because Tekking has probably done something. Alright? It's always good to see Ace though, man. Like, it's heartbreaking to know he's gone, but every time we get to see Ace, like, he's always just been such an interesting and fun character. Alright, here we go. Ship Scrapyard, Navy Branch, G1. Beat up battleships. Battleship bags. You mean like punching bags? Now that you mention it, it does... Yo, is this gonna be some, like... high tier Rokushiki training or something? Now that you mention it, it does look like their armored hulls have been carved in with punches. Who did this? Yo! The Garp love! Vice Admiral Garp, ever since his youth, he made this part of his daily routine. Huh? He's still doing it? Yo, my dude wakes up in the morning and just starts boxing ships just for a warm-up. What about the second one? Ooh, that's our Kiji's handiwork. The former Admiral was Garp's protege. The rules were no haki or fruit abilities allowed while working on the battleship bag. So this is just base strength. Yo, that's wild. Wait. Just goes to show no one's born a hero. It's a strength you have to earn. What? Yo, chat's going wild. Garp is him for sure, man. Garp is 100% him. Ooh, hang on. Sorry for the noise on TikTok. I've got my cameras just blurred out for a second from me just shaking around so much. We're going to bring it back into focus on me. Here we go. It's a little bit better. I'll come back into focus in a minute. My camera is weird. It's a high-tech 4K camera, but every now and then, if I, like, smash around too much, it loses focus. Yo, are these actual normal Navy ships, though? Because that's pretty wild. Because Navy ships are laced with sea stone at the bottom, which is supposed to be as hard as diamond. So if this is just raw punching and striking strength, that is actually potentially a pretty wild feat. Now, it's good to see Branu, man. I really want to see if Branu can actually throw hands or not. Hang on, I've got to fix this up. Let's see if this helps it bring back into focus. The better the source of light, the better it is. Hang on. Is it just me? Does that look better yet, chat? Just let me know. It plays up all the time. It states battleships, right? Well, yeah, battleship bags. You mean like punching bags. Now that you mention it, it does look... No, the rules were no haki or fruit abilities allowed while working on the battleship bags. See, depending on if these ships... Yo, Luca, good to see you, dude. Depending on if these ships are actual, proper, normal marine battleships, that'll be, like, a huge distinction. Because current marine battleships are laced with sea stone, and sea stone is as hard as diamond. Whereas, if this is just steel and wood, and they're just, like, solid ships that are, just, like, sort of compressed together, it'll be a matter of it's just like punching steel and wood, which is still a great feat, mind you, right? It's still a great feat, but the problem is, if it is a battleship that is laced with sea stone, that changes the game here quite significantly. Hajinosu, the Pirate Island, New World. Ugh! Yo, the fuck you did! What? He sent Sanwan Wolf flying. Garp's scary. Yo, Garp just yeets Sanwan Wolf off the island. Oh, I can tell this is just going to be a GARP hype chapter. I'm not mad about it either. I'm not a stickler for quality, lol. Yeah, dude, I am. Hang on. I can't tell. Is my eyes blurry or what? Hang on. I gotta fix this, because it pisses me off. For those of you watching on TikTok, I'm sorry for just me waving around for a minute here. I'm just trying to fix the YouTube camera. Hang on. Where is it? Let's give this a go. Yeah, it's losing focus just right about there. It just makes me look just ever slightly blurry. It annoys the shit out of me, but I'll have to manage with it for the moment. Glitter, blurry and tiny, but we're here for you and your beautiful voice. Ah, the love. Gotta have the love. I'm sure it's gonna focus back in at some point. I think it's got something to do with the lighting at the moment, causing it to not focus in properly. Or maybe I've touched the screen and just blurred it out. Either way, we'll be fine. We gotta pull him up quick before he'll drown. But how? So Gar literally just threw this man to the bottom of the sea. This is a legendary hero? Heavy drinker. Hearth fire. Yo. Oh, yes. See, the camera's working now. We've gone back to 4K. Here we go. Smiles and sunshine. Going over to YouTube. Yo, Luca, check it out. The YouTube, it's a much better quality. You can see the chapter as I'm going through it as well. And you can see the chat and join in the chat. It's, trust me, much better over on YouTube. I'm waiting to try and hit that 1K on TikTok so that it fixes up and I can whatchamacallit, have the YouTube set up over on TikTok, because I also want to do gameplay stuff on TikTok as well. Right, here we go. So, Vasco Shot is fighting exactly how I was questioning it to all those weeks ago when we saw him introduced with the glug glug fruit, with the alcohol fruit, right? Where I said he was going to use it as a combustible thing and start lighting fires, right? So he ignites it. He sends out this like fire breath, like an upgraded, Cabbage's upgraded fire breath, but it looks almost like a, you know, little flame Kamehameha. Ah, what? Man, Garp has got no chill. My man just grabs 3 fodder and meat shields them. They just get incinerated. Like, we literally see they've breathed in the fire. Their entire bodies are in black silhouette. Fire going everywhere. Pirate jack-o'-lantern. Ow, that's hot. Stop. And he just throws them at the crowd. That is fucking ruthless. Yo, ow, that's hot. You bastard. Are you trying to destroy the pirate island? Garp? Ow, hot. So we see all these pirates running away as their teammates are lit on fire and being thrown back at them. If the town burns down, Captain Teach will kill us. He's totally outnumbered, and he isn't even flinching. What a terrifying old geezer. Come in, Vice Admiral Garp. The wounded and all the rescued slaves are on board. That's Bogart! That's a Bogart right there next to We're Setting Sail. I get Bogart. Now that's an automatic 10 out of 10 chapter. It doesn't matter what happens in this chapter, we have Bogart. That immediately elevates all chapters to a 10, right? You can't tell me that's not him. I can see the bowler hat man. Yo, we're setting sail. Hibari-chan, hang in there. We need to thaw the frozen people out slowly. Is Captain Kobe okay? Yo, so they're all worried about Kobe. You can pull out when you're ready. We're done here. Kobe, Grass, Helmeppo, it's time to go. Yes, sir. Hachinoso lives up to his reputation. There's no end to all these pirates. Okay, first things first. Love to see Grass fighting with a clubbed mace, right? Giving, like, that's like giving mad ulti vibes there when Oldie picked up the club and was going toe to toe with Yamato. I really love like seeing people with like spiked weapons. It's really cool, right? Gart was really on demon time. No, 100% Luke, 100%. Weird fact here though. Helmeppo's dual blading his I think they're called kukri knives, right? But he's using the blunt side for his dominant arm. So is he not trying to kill people here? Because he's got one blade facing backwards and one facing the right way. So it looks like he's using the sharp of one blade to like defend against people, and then the blunt side to injure them but not kill them. Oh yes, we finally get to see our Kiji. Yo, okay, so Blue Hole did rough him up. Oh, that's perfect. Like I said, I can't just leave you. Oh, I can't just let you leave. Garp, son. Yeah, he's actually... Blue Hole did some damage to him. And I mean, it was a Conqueror's Haki infused grapple, so that's actually, like, pretty cool to see that, even though it's, like, been a while. Heat plus clay equals hard. Does that mean Vasco versus Gross? Ooh. Having a Vasco versus Gruss matchup would actually be kind of sick. Because we don't know whether or not Gruss is a Paramecia or a Logia. We know he makes golems that act like a Logia to fight, but so far they're puppets. So I want to say maybe he's a Paramecia since we haven't seen him go intangible. But honestly, the Glug Glug fruit and the Clay fruit could potentially both either be Paramecias or Logias since they function the exact same way. Like I said, I can't let you leave, Garpson. I should have gone with the others. We're doomed, yo. Helmeppo's immediately just like, shit, why did I have to step up with the big guns? Hey, Garpson, am I also the future of the Marines? You still want to go, Kuza? Yeah, I love how Gruss just keeps getting ignored. You still want to go, Kuza? We can't underestimate the Titanic captains. Huh. In hindsight, seeing Kobe and Helmeppo here in this situation is genuinely such an unimaginably beautiful thing. Just for the simple point, right? Just for the simple point that Kobe and Helmeppo have done this and made it to this stage in 2 years. And pre-time skip, they were no Luffy. They were no Zoro. So them making it to this stage in 2 years is like, especially for Helmeppo, who was already in his 30s, that is actually impressive. Like, genuinely speaking. Listen up, you three. Head straight to the coast and you'll be fine. Don't die on me, you hear? Yes, sir. Yo, why does Garp look like such a silver fox here? Like, the dude is dripped out, looking handsome as all buggery. Dude is definitely dripped out like a boss. I love to see him back in his black attire as well. It's given me mad Rocks Valley vibes. Ah, someone help. Kia! Oh no, they still have a hostage? I'm coming. We almost left you behind. Kirby, you idiot. It's a trap. Oh, they baited him. Huh? The fuck you did?! Fucking Shiryu, man. Shiryu comes in on some invisible weasel tactic bullshit, trying to stab Kobe on an off-guard speed blitz, like a sheath-unsheath technique. Garp senses this shit, just dives in the way like he's fucking ace at Marineford, and gets impaled in the lower intestines. Garp spews up a bit of blood. Kobe's shook. By the way, at least we finally get a freaking Haki feat for Shiryu. He can at least do armament hardening on his Ryu blade. What? Garp! My boy Garp fucking grabs this man by the collar. Oi, listen here, young blood. Body slams him down. Blade still in him. Just like, nah, this ain't it, dog. Eat this, Shiryu. And Shiryu turns visible. Dude spewing blood from the nose and the mouth just from a body slam. That punk from Impel Down, huh? What? It's Shiryu-san. He was invisible? He stabbed Iron Garp. He's been weakened. Yo, and he pulls the blade out. Yo. The fucking weasel tactics here, man. The weasel tactics. I love it from Shiryu. I also love the fact that Garp knew it was coming. Took the body shot just to save Kobe. I hope this doesn't turn into a Whitebeard 2.0 where the rest of the Blackbeard pirates show up and slowly Garp's just getting weakened and weakened as he's just getting more and more ganged up on and dogshot since he's carrying Kobe, Gruss, and Helmeppo here. I'm hoping the others step up their game and actually sort some shit out. Does Shiryu use Armament Haki or a Black Blade? It's Armament Haki. Iron Garp is 100% a reference to Mike Tyson. Yeah, 100%, dude. Iron Mike, Iron Garp. I love that. That is a great call there, man. Garp's drip... Garp drip. He calls him Supernova to Supernova to switch sides. Yeah, dude. I am a straight man. But that ain't mean I can't appreciate some, like, Iron Garp drip, alright? People have style. You can be envious of style. As for Shiryu having a Black Blade, or it just being Armament Haki, we know that his blade is actually regular. I want to say chapter... Call it 820 to 830. We see Shiryu cleaning his blade prior to going to Whole Cake Island. It's a normal white blade. Like, I say white, but like clear, like normal blade at the time. So Shiryu here having a black blade, I think that's 100% just him using Armament Haki. Hence why he's even able to actually just pierce Garp in the first place. That damn punk film info down. Alright. Garp-san, this is nothing. Go to the ship! But it's my fault. You were protecting me. Don't flatter yourself, Kobe. I was in his sights the whole time. Yo, my dude knows what's what too. Okay, this isn't a death sentence though for Garp. Like, yeah, he got stabbed through, but I mean, Luffy got impaled by Crocodile. Luffy got impaled by, Rob Lucci. Luffy got impaled by, I think, Momonga at one point even too. And, I mean, Garp pre-time skip, we know he doesn't have, like, innate, insane durability like the Yonko do. Like, the Admiral... The difference between the Yonko and the Admirals is the Yonko were born with potential and did, like, a little bit of work to rise up to it. Whereas the Admirals were born without potential and they just fucking hit the gym and they did it all through skill, right? So that's sort of the difference between the two organizations there, right? Garp got sliced up pre-time skip on his introduction, right? He was fine. He slept it off. Garp getting impaled here, like, yeah, it hurts, especially getting stabbed by someone like Shiryu, but, like, even Garp's just like, dude, I've had worse shit happen to me before. Garp's vulnerable. We might be able to take him out now. Killing him is an instant ticket to wealth and glory. Get him. Yo, what is with the fucking lady pirate there with the thick cake? Yo, Oda got out... This is a rant here. This is just going to be a random ass rant. Oda got out of Wano, right? Especially now that he's got his stigmatism fixed. Oda got out of Wano and was like, do you know what? I've gotten old enough to transition from a tits man to an ass man. We're in end of series One Piece and finally people are starting to get some cake. The men still have no legs though, right? Like, it's a given fact that all men in One Piece have to have chicken legs. right? The only exception to that, is probably Blue Gilly, because he's a long-legged dude. Apart from that, everyone has to have chicken legs. Whoa, hang the fuck on. He's got a 3-crown bounty, the same as an admiral. That's around 3 billion! So all the admirals at least have a 3 bill bounty. And that's cross-guild as well. Cross-guild isn't as financially backed as the world government, so all of the cross-guild bounties are going to be lower than what the world government can dish out as bounties as well. Didn't he literally say he's been practicing to draw cake in the SBS? I don't even know. Cake is king, legs are gay. I should have read that comment before I read it out loud. Yo, dude, cake reigns supreme. There's a reason why you have it for your birthday, bro. I'm just saying. I theorized that the crowns were going to be 1 bill in other videos. Getting confirmation that the crowns are 1 bill has me reining back when they were first introduced at the end of Wano. The time Kid brought it up, we saw one random marine with a 1 crown bounty. That means that one random marine is worth 1 bill. That one random marine is also the marine that asked Mihawk where the fuck he was going when Shanks showed up in Marineford. I'm telling you now, Mihawk remembered this man on some petty shit and was like, "Oi, wait, this guy here, we're putting a little extra on his bounty. I don't like the way he talked to me. The disrespect, I'm getting 1 bill and I'm getting this man's head." He implied that I couldn't take on a one-armed has-been. We're ending this whole man's life. So Garp equal Luffy. Okay. First things first, bounties aren't necessarily indicative of strength. Second things second, Cross-Guild does not have the financial backing that the world government has, so Cross-Guild's bounties are always going to be lower, especially since their ranking system is, if they only go based on, like, crowns, if each crown is 1 bill, right? They may not have the finance to throw on, say, 4 crowns and make it a 4 bill bounty. Or, on top of that, saying it's like a 3 crown bounty, okay, but what if it was like 3 crowns, but if they were to give it, if Garp left the Marines or whatever and they gave him an actual bounty, what if it was like 3 bill, 980 mil, you know what I mean? Like, it's hard because with the crown system, you're either 3 or 4 crown. It's not like 3 and like 6/10 of a crown. You know what I mean? So I think for sure when it comes to the for this, it's like a rough ballpark to keep people entertained. And it makes sense that Garp's around that because if all the admirals have 3 bill on them, right? Or in that 3 bill range, I mean, you got to think of it as they're as threatening as the likes of Mihawk, Blackbeard, Luffy Kid, Law at the moment. But they also operate as good people. You know what I mean? They're not going around killing civilians and stuff like that. So the cross-guild bounties wouldn't actually, like, necessarily indicate, like, how, like, sub-threatening they are in those sorts of tiers, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like a good way to sort of describe it is, Kid had a higher bounty than Luffy pre-time skip because Kid killed civilians. So, whatever that increase was, whether it was 15 mil, 75 mil, whatever, that increase in bounty that the Marines and world government give pirates doesn't exist for cross-guild to Marines, if that makes sense. So that is always something to keep in mind. 3 crowns, 5 stars, and 4 periods. Yeah, so that's the point, right? They're not going to overcrowd the cross-guild bounties having, like, all these different symbols on them, because then people are going to be sitting there trying to do math, and then it's just like, instead of a crown, why don't you just put an actual monetary value on it? You know what I mean? Out of the way, Small Fry. You guys couldn't stand a chance, even if we bound both his arms and legs. Ice Glove. Yo, the fact that, like, I don't know how Garp is so injured, honestly speaking, because, low-key, first things first, Garp hasn't really taken any damage yet that we saw. So off screen, he was getting a bit bloodied up by just random filler or fodder, right? 2. And actually, he may have got bloodied up by Saruman Wolf because that got off-screened. So maybe Saruman Wolf, like, off-screen attacked him, and then Garp just goes, yeet! And just throws this 200-meter tall giant a kilometer offshore. But our Kiji looking bloodied, all of that is from one fucking attack, man. Like, literally, our Kiji right now got shaved at, throat slammed, and thrown through the earth. And my dude is actually like... my dude looks more bloodied up than Jozu on guard, harkied up, coming in with a right hook, a full-blown haymaker to the face. Our Kiji just like has a drop of blood there. He's like, tuh. Ain't nothing but a thing. Against Garp, gets thrown into the ground. He's like, whew, my stars. Fucked him up. Looks like we're going into a flashback here. Okay, so this is the battleship bags, is it? Take you on as a disciple? I like my freedom, thanks. Go learn from one of the Navy's instructors. Yo, is this a fucking Zeph reference? They've taught me all they can, and I'm ready for the next level. Make me your disciple. Get lost, yo. Seeing young Garp with no goatee. So this must take place prior... Wait, does this take place prior to God Valley? Hang on, hold up. Garp at God Valley. Let's see this. Alright, so Garp had no goatee back at God Valley. So this is probably Garp around the time he became a member of God Valley, because we know that the likes of the 3 admirals all joined the Marines when they were supposedly in like their 20s. And our Kiji's 40. They've taught me all they can. I'm ready for the next level. Make me your disciple. Get lost. Remember, no haki. And you've just got Garp just BANG! Warping the shit out of these ships. This is training. I couldn't use... Oh, so this is before Aokiji even had haki. Shit. I couldn't use it, even if I wanted to. Yeah, so he's punching the ship and he's actually hurting his hand. So this is back when he's just like a normal-ass civilian. Bam! Pow! Bam! Thud. My son became a revolutionary, damn it. Huh? Bam! Bam! And now my grandson says he's gonna be a pirate? I won't stand for it. Why are you telling me? Kuzan, let's go get a bite to eat. I'm an admiral now, remember? I'm busy. Some tea then. Come on, wait, okay, wait. Wait a minute. This actually does wonders for the timeline. I'm Garp Aokiji, use an ice boxing glove. Oda has an interest in boxing lately. True. Ever since the end of Dressrosa, Oda's been pulling out his bag for boxing. Because you had the Frankie versus Senor Pink fight, and then he just went ham on the Luffy versus Katakuri fight, where that was just a straight boxing match, essentially. Just with special powers. And then, like, he's just been going absolutely wild trying to get the boxing references going. So say that's about 40 years ago was God Valley. Garp became known as Garp the Fist. 30 years... Oh, Garp was known as a hero. 30 years ago, Garp one-shot Don Chinjiao. But was he grey back then? Hang on. Garp vs. Don Chinjiao. So Garp had grown a mustache by the time he was fighting Don Chinjiao. And that was 30 years ago. So, based on this flashback here, it sort of is like 40 years ago became known as the hero for God Valley, right? Then between 40 and 30 years ago, so this is actually probably when Aokiji's... Wait, Aokiji's 45, isn't he? How old's Aokiji? Aokiji's currently 47, so he's 45 pre-time skip. So Aokiji's 47, so 30 years ago, he's 17. So this happened when Aokiji was 17 or younger. So he joins the Marines, trains with Zeph before he hits 17, because we know 30 years ago he would have been 17, and by 30 years ago Garp has a mustache. So he stops training with Zeph, starts training with Garp, doing the battleship bags. So 30 years ago, Aokiji was shit. At 17, he was weak. Like, he couldn't destroy these ships without Haki, right? And you got the indication of that, like the bam pow, bam pow. Then Garp says, my son became a revolutionary, damn it. And you've got bam thud, bam thud. That happened when Ohara happened. So if Garp is admiral level, quote unquote here, right? That thud is in between. It's after Ohara, which happened 12 years... Wait, Ohara was 12 years ago, wasn't it? God, I'm getting all the timeline confused. When did Ohara get destroyed? 22 years ago, Ohara happened. So, you've got 30 years ago, 20 years ago, Garp becomes... Garp's still like admiral level, doing the BAM attacks, right? At that point in time, Aokiji is a vice admiral already. So he's developed into a vice admiral, which means also at the beginning of the Battle of Ed War, he's also a vice admiral around then. But he's clearly not as strong as Garp physically. Because obviously when Dragon becomes a revolutionary is right after the events of Ohara. So if that's 20 years ago, then say 10 years ago, he catches up to Garp and becomes an admiral in the last decade. So he becomes an admiral within the last decade and catches up to Garp's strength physically. And now my grandson says he's going to be a pirate. So that's... That bit there, when Luffy started saying that, that was about 12 years ago. So that's a pretty accurate and solid timeline. Kuzan, let's go get a bite to eat. I'm an admiral now, remember? I'm busy. Some tea then, come on. You have a habit of raising enemies. We're through. My bone-headed pupil. Ooh, so this is the ice glove. So they're using armament haki. I can't tell. Is that supposed to be a Conqueror's strike? So... Right, so they're both using armament haki here. But looking at the panel, the spherical explosion of energy looks like it's from Aokiji, and that looks like the ice glove making contact. And then if you actually look, trailing behind Aokiji and following through behind Garp is another explosive energy, almost like the rings of a planet. Hang on, I'll find... Okay, here. So if you think of it like this, right? That circle is the energy clashing from the middle in between the both of them. That looks like the same effect that Oda uses for ice. But then going through on this direction, from behind Garp to his strike to Aokiji, looks like there's almost like a ring on a planet of energy that has gone through. So it looks like two different energy sources. And you got the lightning there. W reaction. Yo, good to see you, young Two-Faced, man. I can't wait to catch up with you and talk some more One Piece anyway, man. Have a good one. Okay, so we're going through. You got an explosion of energy there, right? But then you got the black lightning as if it's Conqueror's Haki as well, and it's coming equally from both of them. And then down here, we've got the explosion, which is only ever shown from a Clash of Conquerors. So I guess Aokiji has Conquerors. Ooh, that wasn't an advanced Conqueror's technique, because it wasn't shown that way. Like, with the normal Conquerors display of energy. That was an Armament Haki clash, just like Luffy versus Doflamingo. But because both of them are Conquerors, there's a Conqueror's explosion happening. Vice Admiral Garp! Yeah. You bastards aren't yet getting away. This is Hajinosu, see? You shouldn't have poked the pirate hive if you didn't want to get swarmed. Ah, don't. I both love and hate Avalo Pizarro. The cat theme for him is fucking golden, but it also is annoying as shit. You think your friends are safe just because they set sail? Don't underestimate my island fruit. So Garp and Aokiji got blown away. Holy shit, what in the ever-loving picker? Huh? Hibari! Where's Kobe-senpai? I'm sorry, all I did was get in the way. He'll be right behind us. Is that Bogart again there? Hello? Hello, Bogart. He'll be right behind us. I'm just glad you're safe. Huh? What the heck is that? All you see in the papers is Blackbeard this and Blackbeard that. It's high time we got a crack at the spotlight. Tomorrow's headlines are gonna read: Vice Admiral Garp and his squad of rising stars failed to rescue the hero Captain Kobe. Avalo Pizarro, 4th captain of the Blackbeard Pirates, used his awesome new power to crush their foolish plan. So Pizarro's rising out of the island on some picker shit, right? No, don't do it, please. There are innocent civilians on board. Kobe, don't lose your head. Justice will prevail. Garp, I'm not gonna lie. Saying justice will prevail, them's fighting words. Because we know for a fact, whoever wins a fight becomes justice. Right, I'm gonna see. That's the chapter there, yeah. That's the end of the chapter. I'm gonna see if Eggs, you wanna hop in the chat? You still here, my dude? Also, because we're swapping over to the discussion, much love to the guys and girls that joined us on TikTok. I'm going to end the TikTok live now. If you haven't done so already and you want to do so, you want to share the love, or you want to see this the way it is displayed on YouTube, the two things that you can do for us, right? Follow me. I'm trying to hit 1,000 followers on TikTok, right? And the other thing is you can follow me and check out the YouTube and all that good stuff. That being said, peace, nothing but love, nothing but respect. Catch you guys over on TikTok another day. Goodbye. And for the rest of us, we're back. Eggs, how are you, my dude? Let me unmute you.
Hello.
Hello. How are you going, bro?
Good. Good chapter.
Oh, definitely a good chapter.
Did not disappoint. Like I think we're already talking about it. Like I was a bit worried that it was just going to be like a setup chapter.
Yeah.
But it was good because it was potentially a setup chapter, but also just good action as well.
We were both talking about how much we're actually kind of worried about this, because the blurb that was originally put out is the battle against the D starts taking center stage or something like that, right? And we're like, coming off a break, we're like, well, there's no D's actually fighting at the moment, so we're a little bit like, who the fuck's it gonna be? But Garp, dude, you called it.
Yeah, Garp, we got him back.
I was not expecting Garp at all. Like, at all.
Say, this was like good for Admirals, man. This was hype for Admirals. It's funny because it's like they're getting hyped against essentially themselves. Like it's just.
But that's what the Yonko
like,
did for years.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Like it's only
like a quasi-admiral Garp versus an admiral.
So
previous admiral.
the funniest thing is, right? All the Yonko got hyped for years because we always were told they were comparable, and they were always like semi-relative to Whitebeard, who's like the only dude with a planetary statement, right? So it's like Whitebeard can destroy the world and they're all his equal, and Haki can transcend all, and we've seen that they've had all three types of Haki, and we're like, yo, it's Yonko times, Yonko this, Yonko this, Yonko this, right? And it's like, at the same point in time, there's been like a quiet minority of people being like, but the Admirals, and that, I'm guilty of that myself, right? But it's always been like a little bit of a hesitation, because it's like, well, the more the story's gone on, the more people in the top tier that we're getting revealed, the more it's like, maybe the Admirals aren't going to be those guys, but this was fucking good.
It works though, because like I was always kind of like thinking, okay, the Admirals are like, they're strong, but I always thought the reason they were going to be strong is just because they have really powerful Logias and they're really good at using it. And I thought like they probably have pretty decent Haki, but I don't think they have like great Haki. I think they just like have what they need to have, and they have really like powerful fruits, and they're just busted because of that. And then that was like kind of always my take, and you always seem to lean on like, oh, I wonder if they're gonna have advanced Haki, and I was always like, I don't know, I don't think they need it at all. But like based on what we've seen here, it's like they're showing Garp level strength.
Yeah,
Garp
and that's
level strength. And the thing is, what we're seeing is this person lost a fight against another of the Admirals. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's not like he's the only one of the Admirals who's physically strong. Like, I would say that just based off of like personality in general, like showing that like Akainu is likely to be even more of like a physical kind of fighter than
He's okay.
PG.
I'm gonna shoot to the beginning of the chapter here, because this was interesting. They were like, just goes to show that no one's born a hero. It's a strength you have to earn. Whereas for the Yonko, it's been the opposite. They were all
literally they were all born as monsters.
Yeah, and everyone's always taken that to be like, oh, well, clearly the Yonko is stronger. But it's always been one of those things where it's like, well, they're strong. I'm not taking that away from them. But at the same point in time, like, even now, post Wano, we've had Whitebeard, Big Mom, and Kaido fight all out and die, right? Yeah. And we've been, like, really impressed by their Haki, but at the same point in time, there's always been a caveat of, well, why didn't they use their Haki more? Whereas that could be because, yeah, they have those abilities, but because they're just born monsters, they don't go to that bag as much as they could. Kaido being less of an exception, just because he knew, like, dude, it's Haki. It's a Haki game.
Yeah.
Whereas the Admirals, seemingly, based on this, it's a matter of, like, y'all gotta get those skill points up in physical stats and Haki, and you gotta harmonize them. I'm 4 minutes behind, so I can't comment on anything. Do you think the non-touching ACOG thing happens only when clashing, and that Garp and Aokiji didn't necessarily clash as they hit different areas, so it could still be ACOG? I think we'll shoot to that quickly. I think the Garp and Aokiji clash, I think it's definitely got Conqueror's Haki in it, but I don't think either one of them is using advanced Conquerors here. I think this is an armament Haki feat for the both of them. And just like when Luffy and Doflamingo clashed, there was a Conqueror's explosion of energy when they clashed regular armament Haki. Because Conqueror's users, even when just using armament Haki, they flare up the Conquerors in each other. Yeah. Right?
Like Big Mom fighting, like she was just like erupting Conquerors out of the punches unintentionally and like knocking everyone out.
Yeah.
I don't think she was like intentionally like knocking everyone out around her. I think she was just trying to punch really hard.
And we know that Kid had Conquerors there, so it's like she was fighting Kid off screen and unintentionally releasing Conquerors clashing with Kid. Whereas like when Luffy punches someone like Bellamy, you don't get this. Yeah. But yo, I've got to go. Let's go to the beginning of the chapter and go back through it, shall we? So the first thing, these battleships, we know they started doing this, around 40 years ago, right? I wonder when Vegapunk started adding sea prisms to the ships. Because if these ships have sea stone on them, with no Haki and no Devil Fruit, they're punching something as strong as Diamond and fucking it up. In terms of a physical feat, that is ridiculous. And also, like, if you look at it, right, they've just caved it in. Those you see later on when Aokiji starts doing the training, those ships are protruding outwards. You know what I mean? Like, it's curved.
Okay.
It's curved out, and they don't. It's not flat. It's curved out, and they bash it and curve it in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
And that's their daily warm up. That is fucking amazing. The only problem I have with that, though, right, is although it's an impressive feat and they're doing it as training, it's nothing technically more special than Luffy's strength in Gear 3 without Haki. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess it just depends on like how strong the ships really are. Like because they do make a point to be like they're heavily armored battleships. So they're not just like the bows of a normal ship. They're like plated as if like cannot punch like a hole in it with like a cannonball.
Because
like a torpedo.
If you go back to the Luffy versus Lucci fight, these same styles of ships, when Luffy gets taken out of the sea bridge and that, and like gets taken over water, we see in Gear 3 that Luffy's doing about the same damage to these same styled warships pre-time skip. Which, like, again, we've got to remember, this is an Admiral without using Haki here, right? So it's like their base regular person strength is equaling Gear 3, which is a Devil Fruit enhanced strength feat. That's fucking wild, right? But it also keeps consistent where it's like, if they're that physically strong without Haki, and then you add Haki onto it, no wonder Garp's like destroying Don Chinjiao's head. You know what I mean? Like, Don Chinjiao probably doesn't have the strength to easily damage ships like this with a punch without Haki. But with Haki and his Kempo style, you know, he's probably doing it, which is why when these other guys use Haki on top of their strength, it's overwhelming him.
I think just like a massive thing as well is the idea that like Aokiji is he's a Devil Fruit dude, and if anything, maybe like a bit of a swordsman. And he's also doing like Garp level kind of punches.
Yep.
It's like this isn't necessarily his main strength. Like this is Garp's thing. He's literally Garp the Fist. But for Aokiji, this is like an entirely like new sort of skill that he's doing to just sort of like get raw stronger. And I think if anything, really, it's not like he's wants to have a really, really strong punch like Garp. I think it's more just like I just want to have like better Haki essentially. Like I just want to be more powerful in general. And so this to him is just like overall like I'm just becoming a more powerful individual kind of training in that sort of like anime style of, you know, like if I'm just strong enough at arm wrestling, I can now blink at someone and they'll die, like that kind of thing.
So the thing I find interesting with this, they bring up in the chapter that like Aokiji's learned all he can from the instructor. I think that's clearly meant to be a Zephyr reference.
I thought that was really weird though, because
they could have just said his name.
I feel like Zeph's better than that.
Yeah. But at the same point in time, we know that Zeph was in charge of training pretty much the whole generation of Marines. So him being a basic instructor does make a lot of sense.
But so the thing is though, is like, if this isn't Zeph, my assumption is that the instructors are just like, what they're just instructors, right? Yeah, and he's like literally like, I'm just straight up stronger than all the instructors at this point.
Yeah.
They can't teach me anything. And that would make a lot of sense. You know, he's got a low gear and all that stuff. But having it being Zeph, it's like I can't imagine that he's stronger than Zeph. So,
dude, I've just thought up. Okay, I didn't even realize this. This happening at least 30 years ago, back when Aokiji was 7. So Aokiji starts this training when he was 17 or younger, right?
Right.
Garp specifically says to him at the time, "Oi, no Haki, no Devil Fruit." So that means Aokiji's had his fruit his whole life.
That's true.
So it's not like the whole thought process of like when they're picking admirals, they give an admiral a devil fruit. It's heavily implied these guys just get lucky and had a fruit, and then came up through the ranks. Because
Yeah, right.
you get the same thing with Kizaru in the Film Z movie, where Zephyr's like, dude, you relied too much on your devil fruit, and if Zephyr is this trainer, he's only the basic instructor.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's true.
That puts a bit of a different spin on the thought process of the Marines having a much bigger monopoly on devil fruits.
Yeah, like they don't just have these fruits in reserve that they're just giving out to people.
Mm. That does
Sure,
make a lot
I
of
mean, because
sense.
that's the thing is we haven't really seen other like vice admirals and stuff with like these OP ass Logias. So it's not like they just give out like Logias like they're candy,
Yeah,
and these three are the
when they're
the
picking an
main
admiral,
guys.
which makes a lot
Yeah.
of sense as well, because for Green Bull and Fujitora, a lot of people took Fujitora saying, "I'm not used to this yet," to mean he's only just recently got his devil fruit. Whereas it can also be extrapolated from his language in Dressrosa that he's not talking about his devil fruit. He's talking about not hurting civilians because he's responsible for them.
Yeah, okay, right.
So like, it's not a matter of like, oh, I'm not used to using my fruit because it's new. It's I'm not used to using my fruit where I don't just fuck people up because I'm now in charge of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I love how this is actually getting explained though to Full Body and Django, and I love how shook they are because like Full Body and Django are like straight up just fodder from the East Blue, and they've both come such a long way. But like from Django not believing devil fruits were real to him seeing Garp just casually punching ships has to be such a fucking culture shock.
Yeah.
And it, like, imagine being like Iron Body, Full Body, known as like the Iron Fist, and seeing a dude destroying ships with just bare punching, and you still have the gall to call yourself something related to being a strong puncher. That is actually like unironically funny. Also, dude, Branu being a Commodore, right? We've never seen him get active in any role. The way he's just casually talking about this shit, I actually hope he actually can fight because I would love to see him throw hands. Because like Branu has just slowly grown on me more and more because every time we see him, he's always in the positive light of being an info drop. So I've just like associated him with dopamine. Dude, Garp fucking threw Samuel Wolf off an
Yeah,
island.
sent him
Off an island.
was yeah, that was something else.
And mind you, Samuel Wolf was sleeping when we last saw him. So it's implied that he got up, started doing something, and then Garp just goes whoo, and yeeted his ass.
Just yeeted him.
That is fucked up. Because the worst part about that is that seemingly isn't something that you would get from being amplified from Haki anyway. So that's another just raw physical strength feat. That is actually so ridiculous, dude. He can
Episode 1 when Luffy yeeted Alvida to the friggin' horizon.
Dude, the way he's throwing Salman Wolf here has me wondering if Garp can just like you know that scene where Rayleigh's going to Amazon Lily and they're like the Heart Pirates are watching the Sea King just get murked in the water and they're like, what the fuck is that? And then Rayleigh crawls out.
Yeah.
I'm just imagining Garp falls off his ship into the water and a Sea King, like a giant Sea King goes to eat him and he just fucking punches it and just sends it flying through the ocean. Absolutely wild. Vasco shot though fights exactly how I thought he would. The only problem is I can't tell if Vasco shot and Prince Gruss are Logias or Paramecias. Because like both of them haven't used an intangible body yet, but both of their fruits produce a very intangible element that's both natural. You know what I mean? So it's like,
That's true.
and like both of them would be lesser devil fruits in the sense that like that would be like the snow fruit comparison to the ice fruit, where it's like there's probably like an earth Logia that isn't just like the island fruit to upgrade Prince Gruss's fruit, and then Vasco shot being the alcohol fruit. There may be some form of fluid Logia, like just straight up like the liquid fruit. I don't know. It'd be interesting to say the least. Also, I love how Garp meat shields these people, dude. It's so disrespectful.
I thought it was like really brutal. Like,
Oh, 100%.
Literally just committing that person to death.
I love how it's just like, they're pirates. Fucking burn them alive. And then it's not even just a matter of burn them alive. It's burn them alive and then throw them like cannonballs at their teammates. Yeah. If you actually look at it, so like he's holding 3 people that get hit, right? If you actually look at the bigger panel though, there's more than 3 people he throws away. So he used those first 3 to ignite other people and keeps picking up other people and throwing them.
Yeah.
So he's burning people alive just to make more dangerous cannonballs to throw at people. Garp has no fucking chill. Also, weird thing here. Alvaro Pizarro, being the island fruit here, all of a sudden has eyes, right? Do those eyes exist or not? Because it's a hole in the island. You know what I mean?
Yeah, okay.
So it's like, are they just there as like a visual representation, but it's more like a symbolic thing? Or are they actually like, are they straight up like he's forming giant fucking eyeballs?
So we can look through them.
Yeah. Because that's a weird, like, I understand it's like to convey that he's in the island so we can see it, but it's still weird to see, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's true.
I don't know if it's Zeph because Kuzan said he doesn't know Haki, and surely he would have learned it from Zeph. The problem is you have to awaken Haki before you learn it, and to awaken Haki, according to the world government, it tends to be mastering Rokushiki.
But like, I feel like surely like Zeph could teach Haki fairly well. Well, he's not that incompetent of a teacher. At that point, he's just a straight up bad teacher.
Let me put it this way then, right? Garp was training Kobe and Helmeppo. It wasn't until Kobe unlocked Haki to begin with that he even found out Haki was a thing. So I feel like the instructors give you set programs to work towards, and when you show signs of unlocking Haki, it's like you're going to come through for some private lessons.
I feel like that's like a really weird thing with like the One Piece world, because it's like realistically, it's like you would hear legends of someone like Garp who can literally punch an entire like warship and crack the thing in half, and you'd be like, okay, how the hell does he do that? That's not possible. And someone would be like, oh, it's Haki. Everyone knows about it because if you get it, you become like.
See, the problem with that is 2 things, right? As a civilian, you're gonna think one of 2 things there. Number 1, surely he has to have a devil fruit. And then people are going to laugh at you for believing in devil fruits.
Yeah.
Number 2 is, oh, that just has to be, like, word of mouth. You know what I mean? Like, you're over-exaggerating. I don't believe there's anyone physically that strong. Until you see the dude just fucking yeeting you. You know what I mean? Because it's like a really weird thing where it's like, the world of One Piece that we don't follow, which is 96% of the entire world, doesn't believe in this shit.
Actually, in fairness, like to your point, I was watching End of Drum Kingdom the other day.
Yeah.
And there was a point where like at the end they found out that Luffy had a 30 million bounty, and like they didn't know that until the end of the arc. And they're like, wow, like acting like, wow, he's a big shot. I'm like, bro, 30 million.
Yeah, dude.
And it's like this is a kingdom in the Grand Line. They go to like the summits, or like Wapol at least goes to like the summits of the
World.
like the world summit and stuff. Like it's like a they know the world, and even then they look at a 30 million bounty pirate and be like, "Whoa, he was a big deal."
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like the further you go on the Grand Line, the more common this shit becomes, which means the further from the Grand Line you are, the more you're just like, dude, that's just bullshit. You're lying. You're making up stories. I mean, look at Bragman. We know that Bragman is like a book that's exists in the world of One Piece that people believe is like full of lies and fairy tales from like sailors.
Hmm.
But it's like they were talking about like Little Garden and shit. So it's like people just don't believe it. That's as simple as it is, and it's like kind of dumb because it's like why don't like the best way to solve it, right? Is just any island in association with the world government, send a vice admiral there. Just spend a week sending one vice admiral to every island to demonstrate their strength. And just be like, if you have any problems, call us. Solved.
Then it's like in our days, right? We have like military presentations. They have like transponder snails. They have essentially like the
Oh.
news if they want to. They could actually do like a display of strength. They get a bunch of like vice admirals to perform like crazy feats, and maybe even they get like an admiral to like blow up a small mountain or something. You know?
Oh, dude, it's the problem is you can't say it's not consistent because it's fucking consistent. We just cover the 1% of the world, but at the same point in time, because of that, it's like, why don't you just fucking flex this shit more? Like, it'd be so much easier to get territory if people thought you could throw a fucking island at them.
Yeah, no one is gonna go to war against you. Like you would literally be like, "Give me your continent,"
Dude,
and they'd be like, "Okay."
we think it's bad having nukes, and it's like you're at a cold war with nukes and shit like that. It's like, dude, Aokiji made a continent freezing the ocean for a week. Like, imagine being like a poor country that Aokiji like rocks past one day, and he's like, "Oh, you're having problems trading? Here, let me help you get some money so you can become like a renowned port town." Freezes a bridge from one island to another, and is like, "Go trade for a week." All of a sudden, the entire island's economy changes forever. Like, it's just dumb shit like that. You know what I mean? That being said, we're going through here. So we've got the Marines having escaped. So Hibari's escaped. Toshigi's escaped. We also see Bogart, Garp's right-hand man, right in the fucking corner of that panel.
Mhm.
Question. We know the chapter ends with Alvaro Pizarro going to crush the ship. Who do you think will stop the ship being crushed, if at all?
Okay, this is like my big kind of thing for the chapter. Is right at the end of the chapter, Garp says justice will prevail. That could be, oh no, I've lost, but don't worry, justice will prevail. Or that could be, don't worry, I know something's about to happen. We're gonna win.
Or is it gonna, or is it a really like unintentional, like not unintentional, or is it a callback language-wise to whoever wins becomes justice? And it's like Garp's
Yeah,
just saying that, but from a thematical standpoint, it's like, oh shit, maybe we shouldn't be like too confident.
yeah, but like I feel like Garp's reasoning of saying it would not be that because like he doesn't want the pirates to become
Oh yeah,
justice.
so
He
in
wouldn't
that,
say don't
yeah, dude.
worry, you know.
So in that situation, like I'm not saying like Garp's saying it because he believes it. I'm saying it's more like that could be just like Oda putting that there to put that plot point of like a link back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know
Yeah,
what?
like my kind of theory is that like something is I don't know exactly what, but like something is about to happen where someone's gonna come out of nowhere and like clutch
So I
the marine.
I have four potential wants for this. Number one, if Toshigi manages to cut that arm, that would be impressive.
That's true.
Two, if Bogart manages to cut that arm, that would be impressive. 3, no setup, no context, just so that we see them actually coming back and getting a dub. Smoker comes back and blocks it because Tashigi's on the ship. And Smoker brought some reinforcements of some capacity. Maybe he's come with Tsuru and Sengoku.
Mm-hmm.
Or 4, really random thing, Ivaru Pizarro's made a giant arm and legs, right? And he's leaning over to crush the ship. I think this would actually be the perfect time for Moria to make his re-debut. And because Ivaru Pizarro is so big, Moria could steal his shadow really fucking easily.
Right.
And if he stole his shadow, he would immediately stop being able to fight.
True.
Because remember, Moria was in prison, and Perona was here to save him. And Kobe only got freed because Perona freed Kobe as a distraction for her to go grab Moria. Moria also wants revenge on all the Blackbeard pirates for killing Absalom. So it could be like a really interesting thing here where maybe he doesn't get to beat anyone super noteworthy, but he can off-guard one of them because of a bad matchup, and it like helps out the Marines, and maybe the Marines offer to help him escape. That could be a really like interesting way to go about it.
True. I think like my kind of general idea is I think whatever's about to happen sort of has, my theory is that like whatever's about to happen has something to do with like Garp being like a justice or whatever. And so I'm kind of like looking at it from that lens, and I'm like, it could be like someone comes and saves them. It could even be that like Kiji actually this entire time genuinely has been working on the good side, and he's like, yeah, that's fine, you know what, I'm happy to like, you know, like I'm not going to break my cover, so I'll beat you up, and I want to keep Kobe as prisoner or whatever because I don't care about one Marine, right? Like Garp cares about the life of one Marine, whereas yeah, Kuzan is more thinking about it from like a utilitarian perspective. And then so like Garp's like, you know, screw that, I care about my boy, I'm going to fight you for it. So then now maybe he's like, well, basically like, okay, I'll let them get away if we have Garp, because we can use Garp as the prisoner and I won't get in trouble from Blackbeard and I'll keep my cover. So maybe he was like going to be like, okay, I'll let you let Kobe get away, but I'm going to beat you up now, Garp, and keep you as a prisoner. And now that Blackbeard pirates are going after the ship, now I think Kuzan's like, okay, I'm not willing to let the entire ship of people die plus Garp get captured. Now is when he chooses to like betray.
It could do the double. It could work where if Aokiji does like an ice age, it freezes all the pirates, which allows the ship to get away. But then he unfreezes it and he continues to stop Garp, Gruss, Kobe, Helmeppo escaping.
Yeah, right.
So it's like, I don't care about the others. Like I said, I just need Kobe here. Or at least like Kobe or you. Oh, no, I agree. But from Aokiji's perspective at the moment, if you let Kobe go and he had Garp's not going to sit by. You know what I mean? Garp's going to try and escape. So it's like, it's
hard to deal with.
Yeah. So it's like, from this perspective, it's going to be, he does need backup in some capacity, because if he just freezes it and everyone escapes but Garp's going to be hard to like lock down. And then even worse, when Blackbeard and shit get back, it's going to be like, okay, you got Garp, but you lost Kobe, and that was like your one job, bro. So I think it does put him between a rock and a hard place. Although, like I said, we know that Sengoku and Tsuru found out, and they're probably going to be on their way as well soon.
True.
So I could see maybe, like, if out of nowhere, the arm gets destroyed by Sengoku's Buddha palm. Or something like that. You know what I mean? The problem I have, right, is we can't have any top tier Marines really get here. Otherwise, it's just like a dog walk against Aokiji.
Like that's the thing. Like if Sengoku comes, then Aokiji just gets fucked. Like they just win.
Unless
Unless
Sengoku,
Garp is like permanently down for the count and Aokiji's clean after this.
unless Sengoku and Suru come and Garp turns around and says, "I'll cover your escape."
But I think personally, I would just be like, that's dumb. Like I totally I could see it happening.
It just wouldn't be
'cause
great.
Yeah, well, that's just how like things are written sometimes. Like I could see that being written, but like then I think all the fan base would be like, well, why didn't they just do this? It's like one of those things, you know. It's like
Yeah.
like for example, like Law's fruit. Everyone's like, well, then if he has that power, then why doesn't he just do this and this and this and this?
See,
Yeah, that's fair.
all right. Flipping script here. How did Garp get injured? Because he was clean last time we saw the scene of Hajinosu. So off screen, someone's got some damage against him.
Yeah, right. You don't think he just kind of went a few blows against Kuzan?
Well, no, because this is Kuzan getting back up from the blue hole.
True.
So to
No, because like everyone else, he one shot.
yeah,
He didn't know about Shiryu yet. By the way, what's your take with Shiryu? Did Garp know he was there just before he attacked, or did he have no idea?
I think Garp knew he was there.
So he knew. Do you think he knew he was there the entire time, or just before he attacked?
Just before he attacked.
Right. Okay. So essentially, you can perceive Shiryu like a second before he hits you.
Yeah.
Other than that, he's completely immune to perception.
Yeah. So what I sort of thought it is, right? So I think what got Garp banged up is actually an off-screen altercation with Samwon Wolf. Right?
Right.
Because we see Garp at the beginning of the chapter already scratched up, which we know wasn't from Aokiji because he was clean when he clashed with Aokiji. But like at the beginning of the chapter, he's got a few scratches on his cheek and stuff like that. So,
right, so he didn't just one-shot Samwon Wolf. He like fought him for a little bit and then took him out.
what I reckon probably happened is Samwon Wolf probably got up and like attacked the whole area, and then Garp like blocked it, copped a bit of damage, and then threw him.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But
But as
knocked clean, by the way.
he's out. He's fucking arguably one shot, but he's out, right? But then we see Garp, obviously, when Kuzan gets back up out of the blue hole, which obviously took long enough for Garp to fight off Samwon Wolf, Avaro, Vasco Shot, and a bunch of fodder. You know what I mean? And then, like, Kuzan does look banged up from that. So that, like, even though it was like a just Conqueror's Haki throw through the ground, it fucking did damage.
That did a lot.
Yeah, so that's actually, like, not talked about enough. Like, at the moment, Garp's grapples are doing damage. So maybe
Do we know it was a throw?
Yeah.
It could have just been a punch, right? He could have just fucking...
No, because he grabbed him in the face, remember? He, like, put his hand on his face and threw it.
Are we talking about Samwon Wolf?
No, Aokiji.
Okay, yeah, that was definitely a throw.
Yeah. So, like, looking at Aokiji with how banged up he is, that's just from that face grab and toss.
Yeah.
So it's like, based on that, and then obviously later in the chapter when he throws Shiryu into the ground and how much Shiryu's bleeding, I wonder if, although we don't see Garp using any Haki, I wonder if you can apply Haki to someone, almost like you can imbue a weapon, and then any damage they take is actually amplified. So, like,
Okay.
like, you know, doing an advanced Conqueror's Haki throwing Aokiji and throwing him, all the damage he takes for a certain amount of time is amplified from the ground. As opposed to him just hitting the ground and, like getting up and being like, ugh, what? You know what I mean? But yeah, then we get to this bit. Obviously, Kobe falls for this shit, and Gruss. The fact that Gruss said, "Kobe, you idiot, it's a trap." I think Gruss may have sensed it too. You
It
know
was
what?
a trap.
Well, yeah, or it maybe like he obviously saw that it's a trap, but it's also like I wonder if he knew it was a trap because of Shiryu or not. If that makes sense.
Yeah, right.
So it's like the way you can read it is Kobe's forte is supposed to be observation haki, but obviously his observation haki didn't pick up on this, did it?
That didn't.
But then you got Grass, who's supposed to be a rear admiral, who's like, Kobe, you idiot, it's obviously a trap. And then Garp, who, like, so like Gruss and Garp both sensed it, but like where Gruss only could like audibly respond, Garp was like physically got in the way and was like, you're both too slow. You know what I mean?
My sort of take is that like I think this is just trying to show that like Kobe is still kind of young and naive,
Yeah.
but he's like an ultra good person. Typical like
He's Deku.
boy Kobe from the start of the series. Yeah. So he's like kind of a bit too innocent still.
Yeah.
And that's not good, especially in a world like today where there's literally bounties on pirates' heads and he's considered a hero. So there's probably a decent bounty on his head.
500 mil.
And I think like yeah, Grass is like he kind of is a bit more mature and he sort of knows like yeah, pirates can be conniving and scummy like that.
Hence, I mean, Gruss was already the one to be like, Helmeppo, there's no way we're going to Hajinosu just to save Kobe. Like, with that on his introduction, like, on his proper introduction, he was saying, like, dude, that's not a good idea. And, like, Helmeppo was like, oh, we'll just grab some Seraphim and it'll be fine. And, like, Gruss was like, dude, we've lost contact with Drake, so we've got to be on standby for Drake. And also, it's like a Yonko's headquarters where there's an entire army and we've got limited forces. So I think he's a lot more pragmatic.
He does seem a lot more like
Yeah.
definitely.
Which is both good and bad. Because if I was to describe him, if Kobe is what Garp was, Gruss is more along the lines of what I would have expected from Sengoku back in the day. Where he's a lot more like way up the odds. Shiryu stabbing Garp here though. Question about that.
Yeah.
Does this give you Ace vibes? Like, why didn't Garp haki it up? Or, even if Garp did haki it up, would it have made a difference here?
Possibly not, because this is a thrust. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't think this is the kind of thing that you would haki up. I think this was an ace vibe thing. It was literally just like I just need to dive in as fast as I can, and like I honestly think I don't think Garp like got there, stopped, and then the blade went in. I think it like went in as he was sort of like
In the way.
just gotten in front of it. Yeah.
Well, wait, where is Garp standing in relation to him? So Garp's off to Kobe's left. Kobe turns around and starts running the other direction. So Garp had to go from behind Kobe to in front of Kobe. So he's probably ran into the blade and just grappled Shiryu's shoulder. In other words, the way Garp dealt with this situation here is exactly how we've talked about in the past about how you could deal with Shiryu. Even if he stayed invisible the entirety of the fight, you can see when you're going to receive damage from him and counter it. So, like, if Garp was one of the admirals or Katakuri here, he would have been able to, they would have been able to fuck up Shiryu without any repercussions to their body. You know what I mean? Which, weirdly enough, with how much we're hyping up the world government at the moment, and how, even though the Blackbeard pirates are looking impressive, they're still looking kind of shit, even compared to other Yonko crew. Yeah. I kind of feel like we may not get a really high intensity fight against the Blackbeard pirates at the moment. At least not as they are currently.
It was actually something that I was going to say, is that like now that we've seen sort of like a lot of these Blackbeard pirates do an attack and then kind of get semi one shot, I feel like we've just seen them so much that like it doesn't seem likely that.
We're gonna focus on them for an arc.
Yeah, like I don't know if I'm gonna be that enthused watching, for example, like Frankie fighting like Vasco Shot or something like that. Like I don't think I'm gonna be that enthused by that.
Mm.
I'm just like I've seen him attacking Garp, and like Garp kind of just smashed him. So like I don't really care to see Frankie struggle against someone that like obviously it would still make sense that like Frankie potentially has a somewhat difficult fight against him kind of thing, right? I still feel like I don't know. I could just see him like
Even though it'd be a high diff fight for some of the Straw Hats, it's one of those things where we're getting so much about their powers now, it removes the fun of seeing it happen against the Straw Hats, right?
yeah.
And that's one of the big problems why people like when people talk about like Blackbeard maybe getting a third fruit. If he's getting a third fruit, it's a fruit we haven't seen a lot of, or
Yeah.
it's specifically a fruit that we've seen everything of, not because the fruit's going to be hype to have powers revealed, but because we already understand what physical stat boosts it would give him, if that makes sense. It's because it's like, the problem is here, we already have seen the invisibility fruit and how the invisibility fruit works. We know it's got a handful of counters. We see here the observation Haki can counter it too. So all of a sudden, Shiryu, the stuff that makes Shiryu scary is no longer scary. Unless he awakens the fruit, and by awakening it, he can like erase his existence. It isn't that impressive. But it does make it for like it does maintain good utility for being annoying, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and it makes it useful in this specific circumstance, which is like if we don't see the Blackbeard pirates that much after this, well, boom, like he got his fruit and it was useful for what we saw him use it for. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. See,
by the way, another thing I wanted to say was like getting that booze fruit. Can you imagine being Blackbeard, right? You're super powerful, and then you get together this massive crew of like really powerful dudes, and you decide, okay, now I'm going to go hunting down all these devil fruits for someone. What fruit do you want? What fruit do you want? And you've had this book of all the devil fruits and you study them forever. And this one alcoholic on your crew goes, I want the booze fruit. And you spend the next weeks and weeks
going out
using
and
your
hunting
underground
for it.
connections, hunting down this fruit just to get your bloody alcoholic friend his goddamn booze fruit.
Do you know why I think Blackbeard would be G with that?
Yeah.
Because Blackbeard's a heavy drinker himself, so he's like, you know what? If we have this motherfucker on our crew, free booze for life. Never buy another thing of booze. Never run out of booze. No Jack Sparrow, why is the rum always gone? We've always got it on tap. The only problem is you got to go suckle on Vasco Shot's teat to get the booze. He's
funny if
out there
if
squeezing
like,
it.
I'll get you it, but you have to promise that you'll supply the entire island's booze from now on. He's like, alright, I got that.
I like how ambitious Alvaro Pizarro is as well. Because even pre-time skip, his whole thing was like, he said to Blackbeard, he's like, hey, you know, if you're a bit of a pussy teach, I'll be the captain. And I like how his whole thing is he wants to make a name for himself as well. Because I think so far, personality-wise, the most interesting Blackbeard pirates are Alvaro Pizarro and Jesus Burgess, because at least they have ambition.
They have a lot of ambition, that is true.
Whereas everyone else on the crew is kind of just scum.
Yeah.
Yeah. We at least see Shiryu can use black hardening on his sword. The thing about that is, though, I still don't know where I stand on what's more impressive. Black cladding a blade or invisible Haki on your blade, but it's advanced armament. If that makes sense. For example, what's stronger? Okiku's sword where she stabbed through Kaido, but there was no black cladding, or this here? Like, if those two blades in those respective forms of Haki clashed, who would have, like, what would be the more interesting thing? Because we know Zoro uses both. He goes black cladding, and then when he amps up, he goes black cladding with the energy waving off it, you know what I mean? Whereas we haven't seen what's necessarily better individually. The black cladding or the flowing of it. Like, what one's with like we know if you stack them, they're clearly stronger, but take them away, which one's stronger than the other?
I get you.
Because you could argue that it
I
takes.
guess I could kind of see it as basically like Rio versus non-Rio conquerors.
So like that, the Conqueror armament versus just regular Rio.
With no conquerors.
Yeah. It'd be good. Like we need to see more of it. I hope we actually get a clash to put a distinction between it at some point in time, because it would clear up, in a sense, whether or not characters look better or not with or without it. For example, right, I could see a clear argument that by not cladding their swords, they're weaker at Haki because they can't clad it. But at the same point in time, we know it's harder to flow your Haki, but we also know that a swordsman flows their Haki easier than a non-swordsman because a blade is an extension of their body. So it's yeah. Because, like, for example, we know that Kinemon, Fujitora, Zoro, and Kanjuro can all clad their swords in hardening, like this. But we also know the rest of the scabbards also, like, relied a lot more heavily on Rio than they did cladding. But is that just because that one specific Haki just made it easy to hurt Kaido? You know what I mean? It's
right.
There's still a lot of debate about it. Because it's like, you see Zoro using it and he cuts fucking Pika. You know what I mean? So it's like, ugh. Anyway, Garp fucks up Shiryu. But I love how Shiryu just laughs it off. Thoughts on the Admirals having a 3 bill bounty?
Sense. I like it's Yonko level, but it's not like
High
gonna...
Yonko.
Well, the thing is, that, like the Yonko that have higher than that, like they've been doing it for they've been a Yonko for like 20 years plus, 30 years or more. So it kind of makes sense because like it seems like the Admirals maybe haven't been Admirals for as long, sort of thing. Like I don't know.
The Admirals
and like they are more replaceable as well. Like
they also don't have like specific territory.
Yeah.
Whereas like for the Yonko, it's like they're a fortress that's like expanded out. Whereas for the Admirals, it's like, yeah, they've got a lot of backing in the world government, but they can sort of just be mobile and be anywhere.
And mind you as well, this isn't including Akainu, right? It's possible that Akainu was like 4 or 5 even.
And on top of that, Garp's got a 3 crown bounty, and they say it's the same as an Admiral, but the weird thing there is, it's like, okay, you could read that in 2 different ways. Is it the same as an Admiral, so the weakest Admiral has a 3 crown bounty? And even though Garp's only a Vice Admiral, they gave him a 3 crown bounty because he got that hero boost like Kobe did, when Kobe was supposed to only be 100 mil? You know what I mean?
So then it's possible that maybe like Green Bull has a 3 crown, but then everyone else has like 4.
Yeah. And it's like, even though from our perspective that's like mad downplay on Garp, because like a lot of the people use bounties as like power scaling, but at the same point in time in the world, it's like the Cross Guild isn't as well funded as the world government. The world government, when they issue bounties on individual stuff as well that's more difficult, where it's like, are you more likely to attack civilians and stuff like that, whereas Cross Guild doesn't have that. They just have like a very basic symbol bounty system. You know what I mean? Like it's a lot more rounded down or rounded up for their numeral, like for their bounties released, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's also possible that the reason they're doing that as well is because they'll portray Akainu as having 4 crowns, being the Fleet Admiral, and the Admirals have 3 crowns, to show that like there's a difference between like the leader and the subordinates, and they'll also make those subordinates, like they'll make it be more like even though the Marines are stronger and the admirals can fight Yonko, it's like the admirals are meant to be like the first, second, and third commanders on a crew, not the Yonko. If that makes sense. It depends on how they're trying to spin it.
Yeah.
That being said, though, I feel like Garp is really hard because Garp's a hero, right? So he should have a higher bounty than he may necessarily actually have. Which is why they're giving him the bounty of like an admiral, quote unquote. But then it's like, okay, what would Sengoku's bounty be? Would it also be 3 crowns? Or because he was a fleet admiral, would he get more? And I don't know. It's a little all over the shop. Like, it's good because we get a rough ballpark, but at the same time, because Oda does stuff so how do I describe it? The way Oda writes, he makes everything a discussion, which keeps the series alive and enjoyable. But by doing that as well, sometimes it like allows for huge misunderstandings in events. Who did you like more being showcased this chapter, Aokiji or Garp?
I thought Aokiji had the better showing. As in, relative to where I thought they'd be, kind of thing.
Ooh.
I mean, like, we already heard that Garp destroys, like, mountains with his fist. Obviously, that was assumed with Haki. Now we know this was a Haki-less feat. But I would never have expected
Aokiji to keep up with that without Haki and that?
Yeah, on the same level of physical strength as Garp. That's, like, crazy to me. Like, I would... If you had that claim, I would fight you on that hard.
Well, I mean, okay, and the thing is, remember, all 3 admirals were stated to be equal pre-time skip.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. And I didn't even... I would never necessarily... Like, maybe Kizaru would be a little bit less, but I reckon Akainu is, if anything,
more
slightly better in terms of physical
See,
strength.
the problem I have with that is, and I was talking about this today with someone else, it's like, if you look at Marineford, Aokiji had the worst showcasing out of Marineford from a physical standpoint, because he got handled with easier against other characters.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, you had Akainu and Kizaru physically, without their devil fruit, overpowering at times Whitebeard.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, we know they're all somewhat relative, but it's like getting all these feats at the moment for Aokiji, it's kind of like, well, fuck. We've seen arguably similar or better feats as well from the other 2 pre-time skip, but I don't imagine Green Bull and Fujitora having these physical feats. And I feel like I'm still downplaying them heaps, but it's like, shit. You know what I mean?
I could definitely see it.
Question: do you think this is a Clash of Conquerors?
Look, I don't think so.
Really?
I feel like Oda's not ready to tell us if they have conquerors or not. I'm not saying they definitely don't have because of this, but I don't know. I think it's clear, at least.
I think this looks identical to the Luffy versus Doflamingo Haki clash.
Luffy versus who?
Luffy versus Dofi.
Yeah.
Which
similarly styled, yeah.
Which to me, I think implies that both of these characters are Conquerors users, but they're not using Conquerors here. If that makes sense.
Like, I definitely think that's possible. Just don't.
Because like if you look after the clash, you see that giant black lightning streaks spewing out. If that's not Conquerors, that is arguably the best Haki feat for armament we've seen. Without Luffy making an island-sized fist.
Yeah.
So
I mean, these 2 are like. I mean, if you can keep up with Garp the Fist in a punch, like in a training, and you adapt, like, yeah. If you told me like, what do you think out of a punch would be the strongest Haki clash you would see, I would be like Garp versus someone equal to Garp.
The problem is, if you're able to pull it up, you know the Whitebeard Roger clash.
But yeah. Like the whole like, yeah.
If you bring up their clash in the manga, and look at it, it's actually displayed very similar here, except the difference being Whitebeard and Roger used a weapon, whereas Garp and Aokiji are just using fists. Because
Right.
a lot of people you know how Whitebeard split the heavens with Shanks? Because the sky didn't split here, I reckon a lot of people would be like, oh, that's clearly not Conquerors, right?
Mhm.
But when Roger and Whitebeard clashed, there was no splitting the sky either, because it was daytime and it wasn't a cloudy day, which it's daytime here and it's not a cloudy day here. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So it's like
Yeah.
one of those things where it's like it could be on that same scale, but just because stuff's not set up in a way, it's like subtly like, oh, it's there if you're looking for it, but I'm not gonna like make it too obvious yet because I'm still trying to like drag it on a bit. You know what I mean? And you know me, for the longest, I like, even though I think Kizaru's over Aokiji, I've always said Aokiji's way more likely to have Conquerors than Kizaru. If any of the admirals doesn't have Conquerors, I'm leaning on Kizaru not having it. But it's like one of those things where it's like, if this, because this does look a lot like fucking Conquerors to me, man. Especially when see the black light, like the black streaks coming off behind them, like the shading, separate to the lightning.
Yeah, okay.
That's fucking identical to what's happening with Whitebeard and Roger when they clash. And if you look at the Whitebeard and Roger, there is a slight difference in the explosion. So that black streaking that's coming off them, right? So say they're not using Conquerors here, they're using armament, but because they're both Conquerors users, there's like a small clash of Conquerors, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if they were actively using the Conquerors, the explosion would be shown identical to the aftermath of the Whitebeard Roger clash, where you've got that same black streaking that's coming off the back of them that isn't the lightning, happening to the entire island. If that makes sense. Whereas this is just like, I feel like because the whole chapter was showing how they both rely on their, like they both train their armament, I feel like this is almost like a handshake between them in a way. Where it's like, you know, they may level it up bit by bit, where it's like, let's start off with our armament, see who's stronger. Okay, we equaled. Let's use our conquerors. Bam, we equaled. You know what I mean? It's just like building that up by up by up. Based on their flashback this chapter, it's kind of like start at the bottom, work your way up. You know what I mean?
By the way, in this clash, like Kuzan punched Garp in the forehead, which is like the strongest part of the head, and then I'll punch him in the neck.
Yeah, throat
Like,
punch.
Garp should win this win this exchange a million times. Also, his center of gravity is lower, and he's punching up, so he's got a lot more force in his punch, and he's got, you know, like he should win
Well,
this every time.
I mean, this chapter does end with us seeing Garp still awake, on rubbing his forehead, but we don't see Aokiji awake.
Yeah, we'll have to see what happens with Aokiji, because it could be Aokiji gets back up.
Or they
We
could
don't
do
know.
some fucking filth and he's knocked out.
Mm.
But what I will say to that is, based on this chapter, Aokiji being physically as strong as Garp, dude fought Akainu all out for 10 days.
Yeah, true.
This is just parallel hype wanking for Akainu.
That's true. And it makes sense because we did literally see Akainu go fisticuffs against Whitebeard.
Yeah. So at the moment, technically speaking, based on relative scaling, Akainu has equal physical strength to Whitebeard and equal physical strength to Garp through fighting Aokiji.
I would say, I would actually say that this so far hasn't necessarily changed Akainu, just because we saw that he was fighting Whitebeard, sort of on equal terms, but every now and then Whitebeard was kind of getting the drop on him, and then the only time that Akainu was really getting the drop on him was like when he was getting distracted by stuff. So I felt like, generally speaking, it was like they were kind of on equal terms, but like Whitebeard was like the veteran there in a sense.
Yeah.
And I think it's sort of similar here, where like they're kind of on equal terms, but like Garp started the fight with the blue hole, and
He got more licks in.
potentially Yeah, exactly. Garp's got
Yeah.
a bit more licks in.
So
It's like if they were to just punch fists, they'd kind of equal each other out. But if they're just going fisticuffs, like Garp is more likely to do a dodge and counter kind of thing.
that being said, though, Akainu has a dub over our Kiji in that regard too.
Yeah, that's true.
So
I wouldn't be surprised if Akino is a bit stronger
the
now.
the way I'm looking at this at the minute, right, is with no Devil Fruit, Akainu is seemingly going to be equally as strong as the likes of Garp and Whitebeard, which puts him relative to Roger in terms of just raw physical strength. With his Devil Fruit, we also know his Devil Fruit can amplify his physical strength. So Akainu is looking to be more of a brawler powerhouse the more we're seeing of his contemporaries. Which
Yeah, I will say though, do you not put Whitebeard a little bit over Garp, even just the tiniest little notch?
in terms of no Devil Fruit, like take away Whitebeard's Devil Fruit in physicality.
Yeah, I guess. Well, I mean, no, just in terms of going fisticuffs the same way he did against Akinu. I think the Devil Fruit personally. I think the Devil Fruit makes very little difference. But like, we'll just say keep it just in case. Like, not talking about like oh well, Whitebeard technically wins because he has more like utility.
Yeah, no,
More just like in a fisticuff fight.
I think based on what we've seen, Whitebeard. So okay, this is gonna be hard to explain. Kaido saying Haki transcends all. The most destructive Devil Fruit we've seen, technically, is Whitebeard's fruit. I think Whitebeard's fruit is equal to Whitebeard with using just Haki, which makes Whitebeard like theoretically overall more threatening because he can either use his Haki or use his fruit and it gives the same results, right? Whereas Garp with Haki has the same attack potency, but not the same destructive capacity because he doesn't have the same range as Whitebeard, right? And I would say Akainu falls in that same category where he has the same attack potency as him. I think this is really showing that the Admirals and Whitebeard, and also by comparative Roger, have the same physical capabilities at the moment. I would say arguably you could put Whitebeard edging it out just because he's physically bigger. You know what I mean? But I think what this is, based on what we saw in Marineford and based on this chapter, they're doing a heavy emphasis to be like, strip away all the fruits, all the Haki.
Yeah,
they're physically
still really strong.
Yeah, I think they're really trying to put the emphasis on they're all comparative to each other.
Yeah, like Oda seriously could not have been more painfully clear at that.
Yeah.
Like, it does not matter about his fruit or his Haki or anything. He is very, very strong. They like basically straight up said it. Like,
Yeah. But when we start adding the fruit and the Haki onto it, that's when shit starts to be like, ooh, you know what I mean? Because it's like, say this is Conquerors, a Clash of Conquerors here. Not that they're using Conquerors actively, but the same way that when Luffy and Doflamingo clashed with Armament, there was a Conquerors clash residually. Because it's being shown fucking identical. That heavily implies what we've already thought for the longest, that Akainu has Conquerors. Kizaru, I could still see being up in the air, just based on his personality. But the fact that they've been stated to be equal pre-time skip, it could imply that all the Admirals also have Conqueror's Haki. And that's one of the indicators, no different to the Yonko, to get them to that threshold, to that huge level. You know what I mean? Because Garp on Hajinosu, Galaxy Impact on that's Conqueror's Haki. Sengoku through the Vivre cards is confirmed to have Conqueror's Haki. Those are the only two known Marines with Conqueror's Haki. This chapter heavily implies Aokiji having Conqueror's Haki, which then makes it a lot more of a common thing for at least that range of tier in the Marines. You know what I mean? The thing I would say though is because obviously they didn't use advanced Conqueror's Haki here. Maybe the difference is going to be they have Conqueror's Haki, but they don't have advanced Conqueror's Haki because they have better fruits than the Yonko, and they rely more on better fruits and awakening. The problem I have with that is the whole Haki transcending all, and the fact that you got fucking Garp here, whose whole thing is like, I got no fruit, bro. I just Haki it. Haki and brute force it would imply that like the others should have something similar. Although this chapter raises another question that I have, right? So who the fuck trained Akainu in the Marines?
Yeah.
Because if Kizaru from Film Z is heavily implied to have been a student of Zephyr, and this chapter just straight up confirms that Aokiji is a disciple of Garp, who was fucking Akainu's mentor or tutor? Because do you know what would be a crazy thing? If it was Kong.
Oh, that would be cool.
Because Kong obviously went higher up in the world government post being Fleet Admiral, which we haven't seen. Like the likes of Garp and Sengoku didn't want to go higher up; they wanted out or like to stay maintained, essentially retire. You know what I mean? Whereas Akainu still has that growth mindset as well.
Yeah.
And it'd be a good way to tie back in to see like the negative aspects of Kong, as like if we see him as like an Akainu mentor figure back in the day. Because again, looking at these other characters, what are their senses of justice? You know what I mean? Garp has a very laid back sense of justice. Aokiji has a very laid back sense of justice too, doesn't he? Yeah. Kizaru has a very like task focused justice, where he's just like, you know, as long as I got the orders, that's what matters. Whereas Zephyr, from what we know when Zephyr was younger, he's just you know, a man following orders. We don't know where that like fuck all pirates mentality comes from.
That's true.
And it's an aspect of like a major character that like I kind of hope we get to see fleshed out. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Also, a beautiful thing that we never really talked about because we had cut away for so long, but this essentially confirms it. Alvaro Pizarro doesn't feel any pain from what's happening on his island, but he can still sense everything that's happening on his island.
Yeah, true.
So that fruit is fucking way busted.
Yeah.
Could we maybe see Kobe stop the giant arm? Or would that be asking too much of Kobe?
I don't know. Like, I can't see Garp being like, oh, don't worry. I don't know. Yeah. I guess it all comes back because, like, my whole theory about the whole, like, with Garp being like, oh, yeah, don't worry about it. It's, justice will prevail. I can't imagine Garp being like, don't worry, Kobe, justice will prevail. And then Garp goes, oh, yeah, that's true. And then just stops it. Like,
I reckon it'd be a really cool thing if we see the three, like Tashigi, I'm forgetting her name, Fukuruku, the Suru's granddaughter, and Bogart, if the three of them stop this. And maybe not one of them as an individual has the strength to stop it, but like the three of them combined do something to stop it. You know what I mean? Because it's like, this feat here is no different to stopping one of Pika's arms, right? And we saw with Pika, like, Don Chinjiao and King Elizabetho were able to stop his arms. So we need someone to, like, have, like, a comparable feat to the two of them to be able to stop this. That, or they're just going to get sunk. Which... Yeah. The fact that he's got legs here, do you reckon he can fucking stand up and walk the island anywhere?
I don't know. They'd have to be pretty long legs.
Do you know what? I will say, him being an island here, he could reach into the water and pick up Saruman Wolf and pull him back on.
Yeah, he could. That's what I'm thinking is probably going to happen.
Because anyone else,
Unless-
how are they going to physically lift up Saruman Wolf? He's too big.
I think the only other thing that could happen is someone Wolf's fruit like deactivates when he goes fully unconscious underwater or something like that, and then he turns
Shrinks
into a
down.
normal giant size.
Yeah. Oh, dude. We still haven't seen the Straw Hats in like almost a whole volume. Like, when was the last time we saw the fucking Straw Hats, man? We're almost about to hit a whole volume with no Luffy.
Yeah.
And like, I'm both excited for it, but I miss him so much, and it would feel so wrong to have an entire volume of One Piece without Luffy in it.
Like, I don't really know if we're going to go back to him next chapter.
Neither do I. Like, if I thought we were going to go back, I thought it would have been this chapter. But the fact that we're still getting this is like, ooh, shit. Like, when was the last time we saw him? Hero of... Oh, shit. Dude, even chapter 1080 is when we actually saw the first scene of Hajinosu. And the Galaxy Impact. So, what, we're at 7 chapters plus no Straw Hats at the moment. Now, did we see him in 179? Fuck, we didn't even see him in 179 because that was the... Oh, dude. No shit. 179 is the last time we saw them.
That's pretty insane.
Oh, actually, no. There might be another chapter after it where it's a small scene. Because 179 is the kid on Elbaf chapter. Hang on. 181. Let's look at that. And 181 is the Blue Hole and then the Blackbeard Pirates fighting Law.
Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
And then we've got the fucking cross guild. Yo, I think we may go even longer because I think based on the way these chapters have been set up, we're gonna cut back to the cross guild even before we see more of the Straw Hats. Holy shit!
Do you think when we cut back to the Straw Hats, do you think it's going to be exactly where we left off, or do you think there's like some time's going to have passed?
I think when we cut back to the Straw Hats, it's gonna be when the fleet arrives.
Yeah. Okay.
Wait, what the fuck is that? Okay, this last page, right?
Mhm.
You see where the writing is? Where Avalo Pizarro's hands are as an island?
Yeah.
Under the top hiragana or katakana, it looks like there's a person flying. Or is that maybe just like a bit of debris or
yeah.
something?
It does look like upside down, right? Like
Yeah,
it looks
like they're
someone
falling. And that would have to be pretty fucking huge.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like they're falling off of anything necessarily. They seem too far away from the front hand for them to be falling off that front hand.
Yeah. Maybe that's whoever is gonna interfere with this. Sorry, that was just like a really random thing to see. Like, it could just be a bit of rubble that looks shit. Technically speaking.
Looks like legs. It definitely looks like legs.
Kuma?
How would Kuma get there?
Teleport. I feel like we would have focused on it, though, if it was Kuma. Like, we would have seen it happen. Because they look almost as big as a building.
They look pretty big.
Yeah, this island fruit just being the upgraded version of Picker's fruit is wild. I would actually almost love to see, like, could you imagine, like, you know the Shinobi Alliance in Naruto?
Mm-hmm.
Get rid of Naruto and Sasuke from the Shinobi Alliance. Have that Shinobi Alliance go up against Evalro, Pizarro, and Picker. That would actually be a fun matchup to see.
Yeah, it would.
Because, like, the ninjas could, like, do some crazy good shit to, like, stall them and, like, try and seal them. But them just being such huge masses would be wild. Alright, do you have any predictions for next chapter? Because I reckon we continue through with this fight.
I reckon we just continue on with this.
We last saw a scene. It was like 2 panels long in 1087 of One Piece. That's the last time we saw Egghead, I think. Hang on. 1079, sorry, I think it was. I'm trying to find that chapter where they talk about, like, the Egghead Island incident. Nah, there's got to be another scene after that. Because I almost forgot, we've got Blackbeard pirates showing up to Egghead as well. And we still have no clue who those Blackbeard pirates are. Because it should be Katarina Devon and Lafitte. Because they're the only ones that aren't occupied. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have to find when we got the Egghead Island incident shit. Holy shit. Dude, this last arc, because we've had so many breaks, I've got no concept of how long ago stuff happened. Because Blackbeard only defeated Law 2 chapters after the Blackbeard pirates showed up at Egghead. So it's not Blackbeard and his gang of merry men. Yo, I can't find where that scene was of the fleet showing up. I wonder if it was even further back. Hang on. 1077. Let's have a look there. God, that would have been 10 chapters ago. So 10 chapters ago is when Shaka got shot in the head.
Okay.
So 1000... Yo!
It feels like ages ago.
1079 is when they do the Egghead Island incident conversation. Where they're like, the arrival of this unexpected variable unsettled the government to say the least. But regardless, the resolution of the incident the following day would inflict a kind of shock the world never saw coming. So that was 10 chapters ago.
Okay.
1078. And 1079 opens on 2 panels on Egghead, finding out that York was like the traitor, and then we've cut away ever since. So we're about to hit a full volume with no Straw Hats.
Yeah, right.
So I want to say we come back to the Straw Hats soon, but like low key, maybe we just get a fucking full volume with no Luffy.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be kind of weird, but like, you know, brave on Oda's part. But the resolution of this event, the following day, I wonder if we're gonna continue here with So next chapter, maybe we finish off this conflict by seeing who else shows up, right? Then I think we will cut to Cross Guild getting attacked by those three Seraphim, the Dofi, Morita, and Croc Seraphim.
Okay.
And then maybe we get two. So maybe we get like 2 chapters there, and then it's like maybe an extra large volume where maybe it's like a 13 chapter volume, and we cut back to the Egghead the next day when the fleet arrives, or something like that. Because like otherwise, I've got no fucking clue when we're going back at this point. There's just so much shit happening.
It like Wano again, hey.
Yeah.
There's just like too many things going on.
But it's so good though, because no matter what we get, I'm so excited.
True.
So it's like
before, it's like I don't want to watch freaking earlobe guy again.
Oh yeah, it's like, can we just fucking wrap up Raizo's fight already? Like why is the chapter that Raizo beats Fukurukuju the same chapter that Big Mom loses? Like that fight lasted longer than it did for a Yonko to go down.
Yeah.
That is fucking mind-boggling, to say the least. Well, apart from that, I've got no predictions for the next chapter other than finding out who's going to stop this hand, maybe some reinforcements showing up. What do you think the outcome's going to be of the Hajinosu conflict, though?
Man. I don't know. I think it has to be slightly bad. I don't think it's going to be disaster, you know what I mean? I don't think they're just all going to outright lose, like all of the Marines. I don't think they're just going to all outright lose. I think like something's going to be bad. Like maybe Garp does stay back as a prisoner.
The problem is this is just Sword. But like even then, it's like, okay, if the Marines are going to lose, are they going to lose at Hajinosu? Or are they going to lose at Egghead?
Tell you what actually would be really cool is tell you what, maybe it doesn't in disaster. Maybe they all get captured and someone tells Akiyuno about it and he says, well, that's Sword, we don't give a shit about Sword, we're not going to go help them. They did what
they did. Yeah.
They went and did what they did. They cop it. They lost. They failed. And then Luffy goes and saves them because, he hears about, oh no, Kobe and Garp, fights Blackbeard. That's why he fights Blackbeard. And then it's like, basically, it's like, well, Luffy did the good thing that
Okay,
the
you
Marines didn't do. And then it's like, now Garp and Kobe are sitting there like, to be honest, Luffy's a better Marine than Marines.
The problem I have... okay. If Sword wins here, it may look bad for Aokiji, but it doesn't look bad for the Blackbeard Pirates as much because they don't have their captain and half their crew. So they actually at least have a caveat to lose. Whereas at Egghead, if they lose at Egghead, which it's implied they're going to, that's gonna fuck the entire Marines up because of how big the fleet is.
Yeah, but you also have to consider that, like, from Blackbeard's perspective as well, like, if Blackbeard will lose at Egghead.
Well, if Blackbeard's there himself.
That's what I mean, like, Blackbeard's pirates are going to lose at Egghead.
Yeah.
And then, like, if Blackbeard's pirates don't win here, then it's like, yeah, sure, they beat Law, but that was only because Blackbeard was there. But every other altercation...
They've lost.
Against Garp, yeah, they've lost.
Because I feel like
It's like I think they will win here, or at least they'll come out in some way on top. It might not be a complete victory.
if the
They'll
Blackbeard
come out in
Pirates
some way
win
on top.
here, I think the Marines may win at Egghead.
Marines. So then you just think like for
Because
on Luffy's perspective, everything goes bad.
I think, well, okay. The problem I have is it's like scissors, paper, rock. Like there's triangles of events happening where it's like two outcomes are negative, one outcome's positive. I thought it was Kid and Law got fucked up where Luffy was going to win. Right? But for Luffy to win there, the Marines fucking lose. If the Marines lose there, they've got to get their win somewhere else. But if the Marines win here, the Blackbeard Pirates lose here. If the Blackbeard Pirates lose here, they need a win elsewhere. And although they beat Law, if they also lose... actually, no, that could work. They lose at Hajinosu, they lose at Egghead, but they won against Law. So that's like they won one, lost two. The
But
Marines...
Luffy losing, what does that look like? How does Luffy lose?
See, I can't conceptualize it.
Then because like Luffy losing, then you assume like Vegapunk's gone. His crew's been wiped, but somehow escaped alive.
Luffy gets knocked out. Everything's looking all worse for wear. Maybe they beat Kizaru and a heap of people on the fleet. They didn't kill him, but they beat them. But Saint J. Garcia wins against Luffy, while Blackbeard Pirates third party there, and they lose. And then right at the end, when it looks like we're going to get wiped out on some Sabbaty shit, the opposite happens, where we got sent away at Sabbaty, and it was a heartbreaking thing. Vegapunk uses his teleportation tech to get all the Straw Hats out. And it's a win. That could be possible. Because it's one of the abilities that he's already established that he's got control of.
I wouldn't personally be comfortable with Luffy losing. Because like I feel like he's done so much losing.
That he
now
needs
it's
the
like
win.
His Yonko level, it's win time. Like yeah,
But
it's time to bring
see,
it home kind of thing.
the problem is with that as well. That's what it was kind of like pre-time skip, where even though he was like struggling in fights, every arc he was winning, and it was getting to a point where it's like, he's a maniac, and then just gets blipped. And it would...
I think that kind of makes sense for Luffy. Like I think like him just winning from now on, like he used to, is
should be good.
Yeah, it should. Yeah, that's what should happen.
He needs to be put in front of the worst people, the ones that we want to be hurt. So that it's not a matter of like, oh, it's bullshit that Luffy keeps winning. It's a matter of, fuck him up! You know what I mean?
Like he's excelled now. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
he is beyond now.
The only time he should get humbled again is through him.
Exactly.
But then
The other thing is that like you can humble someone without having Luffy lose. Like you can have Saint J. Garcia be like really, really bloody strong, and he's like, "There's 5 of us, plus there's the Dark Knights," and even if he's like, and they're all stronger than us as well, then Luffy's like, "Holy shit!" And that humbles him without Luffy ever even losing. Because it's like, yeah, sure, I can beat one of them, but I can't beat 10 of them at the same time. There's literally 10 of them. Like.
I tell you what, One Piece has done a great job at the moment of keeping me in a situation where I've got no idea what's going to happen specifically. Because any way I look at it, no one can get too many wins. And we're in a situation...
Good writing is, man. You just don't know what's going to happen. It's what good writing is.
Because... Okay, Shanks leaving... So Shanks and Blackbeard have finished their altercations against Supernova, and they're both leaving respective islands, but they're also both near each other. What if they run into each other next?
Oof.
And it's Blackbeard with only half of his crew.
No.
Because because Blackbeard with half of his crew should fucking easily lose to the Red Hair Pirates. But if that happened, imagine if we don't find out anything about it, and then we just find out at the end that Blackbeard came away with a dub.
Yeah.
That would be pretty wild.
That would be for sure.
It's like, dude, man with half his crew takes the best Yonko crew at the moment. Although the other problem with the Blackbeard pirates that were there is they've got fucking Van Auger with them. So they don't really need to sail anywhere because he can just teleport the ship.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like they could show up here, or they could have been the ones to show up at Egghead, but like the fact that we saw Blackbeard only win after we saw a Blackbeard ship at Egghead really implies to me that like it's not Blackbeard himself. And like we do have like Blackbeard pirates missing at the moment that aren't accounted for.
Yeah.
Unless they're still on Hajinosu and we just haven't seen them yet. Because like, could you imagine like Garp just got done in because Kobe fell for one trap, right? What if Katarina Devon turns into another one of like the Marines or something and is like asking Kobe for help? There's just too much shit that goes, like, painfully against good guys here. And it's happening in too many fucking areas at once. Because, like, who do you think's more likely to lose here? Garp or Aokiji?
Like, I don't know, I'd even say Garp.
You can't even say Garp?
Probably say Garp.
Garp, yeah?
Because I mean, like realistically, like Garp is on an island surrounded, and his crew members are, to be honest, kind of just holding him back.
And just got fucking impaled.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that Shiryu impaled him and then now Akiji's landed an equal hit on him, surely Garp's weakened enough that it gives a good excuse for Aokiji to, like, get the dub.
Like, I don't think any of the Marines on that island can take on Shiryu without Garp.
See,
Shiryu's there.
I would...
You know what I mean? It's like, literally, like, the pirates that are on that island would take out everyone if it wasn't for Garp.
I would love to see a high diff fight between Kobe and Gruss against Shiryu.
Both? Yeah.
Like you could get Shiryu in a 2v1 with people that are like far weaker than him, but it's like a good uphill fight where they work in numbers. And that could be like a reasonable hold off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
I guess like the problem is just that like I'm having like there's also other pirates all over the place. So it won't necessarily be 2v1, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's kind of what I'm thinking with Garp is like it's not just going to be Garp versus
they're severely outnumbered.
Aokiji, is it? It's going to be Garp versus Aokiji with other people just jumping in constantly. It's going to be really annoying.
Honestly speaking, Moria and Perona right here could come in clutch and help either side in a really drastic way. Especially with Perona's ability to make people depressed.
Yeah.
Like, dude, imagine how Kiji's got the upper hand against Garp because Garp's injured. And, like, you know, justice will prevail, and it's, like, obviously a reference to whoever wins becomes justice. And now Kiji clearly looks like he's about to win, implying he's about to be, like, justice is about to win. And then Perona hits our Kiji with a negative holo.
Yeah, right.
And that, like, if Perona's negative holos, like, swarm the island, that could give them a really easy out. And, like, Moria could just be like, you know, I need a ride off the island. We'll help you out here if you can just let us go somewhere. Which would then, like, be really interesting because, like, the whole point of Sword is they're not bound by the rules of the world government. So it's like, could they help out a pirate, or would that go against their sense of justice?
Right.
Oh, dude. Ah, so much shit happening in this story right now. We've been going for 2.5 hours. Do you want to wrap up here?
I need to get dinner.
Yeah, I'm getting hungry myself. That being said, until the next chapter of One Piece or until the next video of ours you watch, whatever it is you're here for, thank you guys and girls for coming through. It is really appreciated. Eggs, you want to say goodbye, my dude?
Bye.
Goodbye. It's a bit of a shame we didn't hear back from Kuma. I think he would have loved to talk about this chapter, but we may just do another random stream, just to catch up at some point through the week anyway. That being said, until the next video or until the next chapter or whatever it is you're here for, thank you guys and girls for coming through. Nothing but love, nothing but respect. Have a damn good day. Goodbye. I got a blocked nose.